What's cracklin', everybody? Welcome back once again to the definitive cereal tier list. For each episode, we take a cereal, put it on the tier list, so you know how good it is. I'm your host, Tucker. In this episode, we're doing Fiber One Honey Clusters. Last episode, we did Fiber One Original, and that did end up getting a D, which is actually kind of better than I expected it to be. I was a little worried it was going to be more bad, but it turned out to be very much just fine. So that was good. However, with this one, really switching it up there. That was the weird, sort of elongated pet food looking one. This, we're going with flakes, some little clusters in there. So obviously, you have like the recent oat blenders, like honey bunches of oats. Like that's much more like a cereal that I'm into. So that gives me some hope. And interestingly here, it's much less fiber. Like the other one's at like 65%, this is like 36. So that dropped down a lot. And the last one didn't have any sugar. This one has sugar for sure in it. So that combined with the flake switch up there, I think I'm gonna like this one more. But let's just get into it. Okay, quick. Is there gonna be one bag or two? I think one. I think this is gonna be a normal cereal. So I think there's gonna be one. Okay. Oh, interesting. I guess because of like oat blender stuff, I was expecting it to smell a bit more like a cornflake sort of thing. But it kind of reminds me a bit more of like a bran thing. Made it pretty far. Okay. It's definitely weird feeling. I don't often comment on like the touch feeling of the cereal. But this one's a little odd. What type of whole grain wheat? Corn bran. Wheat bran. Okay. So there's some bran stuff going on here. But yeah, you got just sort of these flake pieces, clusters of varying size. Let's see. I have a bit more hope with this one. I don't love the sort of more bran nature of the flake. Like, I don't think that's quite my style, but I think it's still gonna taste all right. Okay. Okay. Kind of like the last fiber one. The initial taste, pretty solid sweetness, more honey in this one, obviously, than, I don't know, still what was happening last time. And this one, yeah, honey, sweetness, good time there. But at the end, very much getting that bran flavor. So we'll see if, like the last fiber one, the bran sort of overtakes the honey flavor, or if it'll stay a bit more balanced this time. I personally am hoping for the balance. So at this point, it's still being pretty balanced flavor-wise, so I'm appreciating that a lot. I don't think they're necessarily my favorite flake, but I appreciate the flavor they do have in there, so that's going well. I don't think they've lost too much crunch either, so that's good. They seem a little bit thicker than like a Frosted Flake, so not as yummy as Frosted Flake, but seem to be getting less soggified. So I guess that's a fair trade. All right, now let's see how much honey's in the milk. Good, it's a good honey level there. Let's see how much more I can get. Yeah, I enjoy that. There's definitely a hint that bran flavor, but you are mostly getting just kind of honey milk. So I'm into that. Turns out I was correct. Switching up the piece and adding in some sugar made me enjoy it more. It's occurred to me that I haven't really commented on the clusters this whole time, so I'm gonna do that now. I think they're not necessarily like a top level cluster by any means, but I think that's where a lot of the honey flavor is coming from, so I appreciate that. And they are adding in some crunch. They're just not like the strong sort of cluster that you might expect in something like Honey Bunches of Oats. But they are present for sure, and I appreciate everything they're doing. So shout out to them, even though I didn't really say anything about them until now. So what I'm gonna do is give Fiber One honey clusters a C. I think it's a low C, but I think it's definitely a step above the original Fiber One in almost every way, except for, I guess, fiber count. So I just enjoyed this a lot more. I think the flake, while a little more branny than I would like, I think it's still overall pretty solid. And again, enjoy the clusters, just weren't necessarily the like really powerful mix up that it could have been. So you got improvements there for sure, and on top of that, it's a better taste, and the taste isn't getting sort of overrun by the bran or whatever base sort of grain you're working with in any case. So that all worked well, and I think it's definitely a lower C. I don't think it's like a really up there C, but I definitely would say this is closer to good than fine, even though it still has Fiber One fine, but it doesn't work this time. This one's Fiber One. Just take the O and say good. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and in the comments below, post your general thoughts. Let me know if you've had Fiber One honey clusters and what you thought of it. If you prefer the original Fiber One, maybe because the increased fiber, or maybe you're really into that piece or something, you can let me know. If, like me, you prefer having some clusters and being flakes instead, you can agree with me too. Or if you're a big fan of both and you enjoy different things about each of them but still enjoy them both, you could be just all around positive too. But until next time, stay delicious.